Welcome to the private Facebook group for learning galactic astrology. We have a beautiful chart to read today in which you will learn the aspects. And while I'm reading this to you, it is May 13th, it is Mother's Day, and so I'm dedicating this to Divine Mother's Day. And the reading of this chart is profound because Black Moon Lilith is conjunct the Ascendant in feminine water sign Pisces. The Ascendant's at 26 degrees, Black Moon Lilith is at 27, so that's within a 1 degree orb, and that's considered conjunct. Vesta, Athena, the Ascendant, Black Moon Lilith, this person's very life breath is to restore the divine feminine. So we see that this is water sign feminine, and so what will happen with that is it will square masculine signs, trine feminine signs, and it will also sextile feminine signs. And we can see that the blue lines are the trine lines. The red line is the square line, and the opposition line is slightly in orange, and the purple lines are the sextiles. So in order to read a whole sign's chart, you need to know that the sign is either masculine or feminine and know the element. So I want you to study the signs and their words, their keywords for that sign, but also I want you to note that Pisces is feminine water, Aries is masculine fire, Taurus is feminine earth, Gemini is masculine air, Cancer is feminine water, Leo is masculine fire, Virgo is feminine earth, Libra is masculine air, Scorpio is feminine water, Sagittarius is masculine fire, Capricorn is feminine earth, and Aquarius is masculine air. So what it does in whole signs is it goes from feminine to masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine. And that keeps the balance between feminine and masculine as part of our template, and that's the way the ancients saw astrology. So from the Greek texts, they saw each sign as feminine. So it's not just the constellation of Pisces, but this is actually in the fixed stars, this is the constellation of Pegasus, and many of those stars have feminine consciousness. So then Pisces is considered feminine. So just like Gaia is a feminine consciousness and Venus is a feminine consciousness, whereas Mars, the ruler of Aries, is a masculine consciousness, so it's masculine. This is very important to note because the stars in the constellation of Pisces are feminine, but actually the fixed stars of Pegasus, which are in alignment with Pisces, are also feminine. And so that's why it's important to remember these basic things. And then the elements, okay, Pisces is water, and then water is going to be very important in this person's makeup because this is her first house of self. This is her body, the way her brain formed. It was this watery, receptive feminine that was tied to the cosmos. And Black Moon Lilith there means that she's incredibly tied to the divine feminine. And this is where we restore the divine feminine, so wherever Black Moon Lilith is in your chart. So let's start to look at the aspects now. Planets have to be within a 3 or at most a 5 degree orb. Asteroids have to be within a 3 degree orb. planets that might be conjunct the ascendant or the midheaven can be within a 7-degree orb, because these are very important points. So Here's 20, here's 27, but here's the ascendant, and we're going to take Vesta, who is 6 degrees away from the ascendant. Still, that's considered conjunct. And 13-degree orbs for the moon. So for the moon, only within the whole sign, okay, so Neptune would not be considered conjunct because it's in a different sign with a very different energy. And remember, we're looking at this as a little piece of a pie, you know, on the ground, but up in the sky, these constellations have distance between them. It's not like this would be considered conjunct. But the astrology programs out there, they would, I mean, unfortunately, they're not realizing that this is not a conjunction in the sky. But what is conjunct in Scorpio is the asteroid DNA and the North Node, because those are within 5 degrees of the moon. And the moon can go as wide as 13 degrees, so if something was here, we could also have a conjunction to the moon. Now the sun can go as wide as 15 degrees in its conjunction, so virtually everything in this air sign, Libra, is conjunct because she has placed her sun right smack in the middle of the 30 degrees that are in each house. So each house has a full 30 degrees. That's why the Placidus system and those different systems that intercept the houses, and some of the houses are bigger and some of them are shared by 2 signs, don't make any sense. And a lot of astrologers have realized that, but they haven't changed the programs or rewritten the books, which is why virtually no book I would recommend other than Demetra George's book. So here's the sun conjunct within a 2-degree orb of Mercury. That's Pluto, little tiny p there, and asteroid Hathor is conjunct Pluto. So I would take all of these, including fixed star Arcturus, as a conjunction for her sun. So one of her forms is Arcturian, and we know the 8th house is the house of dimensions, and she brings in her Arcturian form. Okay, and so then let's start to go from the ascendant again, because the ascendant configures to, let's put it this way, not the 2nd house, not the 6th house, not the 8th house, and not the 12th house, but the ascendant configures to all the other houses. So it can sextile the 3rd, it can square the 4th, it can trine the 5th, and so forth. It can make an opposition to the 7th. So the 1st house is what is called the vitality, and it configures to the majority of the houses, and those are considered like the energy centers of the chart, whereas the 2nd house, the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house are considered, in astrology it's called cadent, where they don't have an aspect to the ascendant. So the ascendant squares the midheaven, and the galactic central sun is for everyone at 26 degrees Sagittarius. In this chart, it just so happens that she chose the life breath at 26 degrees Pisces, so she has a perfect square to the galactic central sun. Then she also has a square to 27 degrees Mars, okay, because that is within a 1-degree orb, and that Mars makes what's called an opposition to the galactic central sun. So she has a beautiful square to her ascendant of what is a square, a tension for her to bring in this divine feminine aspects as her very life breath, and it squares Mars and it squares the galactic central sun. So it's like, for this person, it's like the power to do so. And she has Ceres there, the power of the mother, Ceres, like Mother Bear. She's really powerful. And of course, the galactic central sun gives enormous power when it's configured to the ascendant. And then we can see that her black moon Lilith and her ascendant trine her natal moon in Scorpio. So I tried to read this chart with Lindsay, and I was holding it up and I was reading it backwards, and I knew it was a trine, but I couldn't read the sign correctly. I thought it was actually Cancer because it would also trine Cancer, because water always trines water. So if there were a planet in Cancer, you would have a grand trine. Okay, so fire always trines fire, earth always trines earth, air always trines air. And what happens is, if you have a grand trine, like here we have Chiron, the galactic shaman, at 26 degrees, trining the midheaven, trining Juno at 24 degrees, trining back to Chiron, and also sextiling this purple line, Mars, and sextiling back to Juno. This is called a grand trine kite with the sextiles and the opposition. You can see the form of the kite. And what that does is it amplifies, because the trines are amplification. It amplifies and is considered the most fortunate aspect of easy flowing energy, like a pyramid. Now, if you have a lot of fire, say that she had tons of planets in Aries, she would be so hot and fiery that her body temperature could be very warm. She wouldn't be able to take direct sun or a very warm climate, but she has balanced out that fire trine with a water ascendant. So this is what we see, is the fire trine is like spiritual illumination. A water trine is like emotional pressure, like enormous amounts of empathic, emotional, like feeling. An air trine is someone who's expressing and talking. They have to talk nonstop. Often when I do the chart of someone who has an air trine, they're talking more than I am during the reading, which is fine because they need to tell their story, and that's part of the reading. The earth trine is material manifestation. So earth trines come in and they really want to learn how to get their resources together, get the details of those resources together, get the structures of those resources together, and live a very material life. Now, when you go and look at what the qualities of each of these earth signs are, here's Taurus, which is stable and steady and sensuous. And then if you were trining Capricorn, that would be the structures. And if you were trining then Virgo, that would be the details of material security. And so then you would have those three major aspects. For this person with a fire trine, she can initiate action. That's what she values, because the second house is values and how she makes her resources. She's incredibly good at making resources because Jupiter is there, kind of protecting her galactic shaman. And then it goes to the galactic central sun, where she's always bringing through the galactic central sun. And then Leo, she has Juno, where really she has like the Juno of the yoni, because Juno's original word was yoni, where she comes from herself. She's a self-created woman. And you will hear that because we have a recording of her chart for you. Now let's look at some other things in the chart. The opposition from Vesta to the vertex. And Vesta is like the priestess, feminine water, to feminine earth, the vertex. And the feminine earth vertex helps her to get the details down with her clients or who she's working with. You can see her Venus at 2 degrees makes what's called a sextile to her Uranus. So this loving response is also incredibly original and revolutionary. And then she has a square from Saturn at 142 and a masculine fire sign to a feminine water sign of 140. So it's like the structures of Saturn, but then the like revolutionary kundalini electrical impulse of Uranus. and that's a tension for her between the structures and that electrical, Uranian, creative flashes of insight in her ninth house, which is her higher learning and her mystical realities. Now you'll see you'll hear when you listen to the video that this person has really mastered all of her red line squares and her oppositions. Let's just look at some of the aspects so that you can remember these. A conjunction is something that becomes very intense. So her Pluto of like transformation through death, rebirth, and possibly different crises is conjunct an asteroid called Hathor. And Hathor just popped into my awareness for this person. This was the Isis mysteries and the teachers of the mystery schools. Hathor was considered the daughter of Ra. And because she has a midheaven at the galactic central sun, the daughter of Ra, Hathor, also becomes important as an asteroid that I would look up for her chart. So an intensity is a conjunction. So this 2-degree orb is intense. Also, the Sun and Mercury are within 2 degrees. That makes that intense. And what that actually does with Mercury and Libra, which are air sign and expressive ability, is she can channel her Arcturian form, and her Arcturian form will come right in and speak through her. So this is the 8th house of dimensions. And Mercury acts like as a messenger of the stars there. So that's considered a conjunction, which is very intense. It's like blending the energies of the 2 planets. A sextile is ease and grace. So here we have Hathor and Pluto trining her Neptune of like the mystic in the house of career, and definitely she's a mystic and a shaman and someone who's studied the women's mysteries. So this is the only planet she has in the 10th house of career, and it's sextiling Pluto, transformation through these Hathor mysteries or the Isis mysteries, and Neptune dissolves all the boundaries of the veils, and she's able to channel an angelic self also. So that's an ease. Okay, a sextile is an ease, and this is an air sign masculine to an fire sign masculine. So the sextiles go from masculine to masculine. And then in opposition, and she has this opposition of Jupiter and Chiron making an opposition to her Mercury and her Sun. And remember, Sun can have as wide as a 15-degree orb, so the Sun is also part of this opposition with Jupiter. And Jupiter gives her enormous expansion, and it's like a wise teacher, but in this case it's also a protector of her shamanic skills, and it gives her a full light of awareness, because that's what the opposition is, of her abilities to channel her Arcturian form. Okay, and so the opposition is the full light of awareness, and the square is attention. So let's look at Saturn square Uranus, so the tension of the structures with the breaking out of those structures. The structures and the breaking out of those structures. That's attention, which is perfect because it gives her enough detail to figure out how to do this work. Like, she will study very hard and take courses and be of service, because this is the 6th house of service, in order to do like her flashes of insight in the 9th house, which is like divine university, oracles, seers, dreams, divination. So she has Uranus there. She could also be a great astrologer. Okay, so those are the whole sign aspects. And I just want to go over the actual degrees again. So, excuse me, I have like a major upgrade in my throat right now. Maybe you have it too, because we have Uranus squaring Mars right now, and my throat just happens to be like going through huge throat chakra, like communicating the divine, and my throat is actually doing something really interesting right now. It feels like it's opening, like there's an egg, and the egg is opening. Okay, so bear with me. So the degrees are 3 degrees within signs for planets and asteroids. Planets I'll take as wide as 5 degrees. 7-degree orbs. Orbs mean, here's 20, here's 27. That's a 7-degree orb. Okay? 13-degree orb of the moon, 15-degree of the sun. Each of these has 30 degrees in them. Okay, and you always put the ascendant somewhere inside, so this has to be done in whole signs. You have to figure out how to work astro.com and put the house system in whole signs, and that's in one of our videos. And then I want to show you that a sextile, then, if each has 30 degrees, a sextile is something that makes a 60-degree aspect. Okay, so there is 60 degrees between the Chiron, well, it's actually 61 degrees, and the Mars. So if you're good with math that way, you can also figure this out as long as it's within the sign. Okay, and a square, so we have this square. This square from 27 degrees water, sign feminine, squaring at 27-degree Mars is 90 degrees, okay? Because you've got to count through each of these houses. And then a trine, okay, from Ceres to the sun, which is a trine, this is 15 degrees, and that is 14 degrees. And that trine is a 120-degree aspect and is considered the easiest amplification in a chart. And Lindsay did ask me when we were making one of the videos, it doesn't have to be a grand trine. No, it doesn't have to make a whole triangle. So a grand trine can appear if you have some planet or major asteroid in each one of the, say, fire, earth, air, or water. But you can also have just a trine line from air to air. And what I'd like you to do this week is to start to put these lines in your chart and share them in the comments on the page. And there will be maybe, it's a very small group. No more than 10 people are going to be putting up their charts. And you're going to put in your aspect lines. This could be the same chart that you also wrote the details of what Aries is, and the outer wheel you would put what this house means, and then learn from each other. If you have questions, put them in the comments. It doesn't mean that I'll necessarily get to them because I'm doing a lot of sessions, but you can learn from each other. And also you'll see a video this week on Black Moon Lilith, so you should find Black Moon Lilith in your chart and determine how she is acting in your chart. So you can absolutely do this. I have faith in you. You are totally capable of doing this, and there's a lot of opportunities to create websites with programs for astrology that are in whole signs. There's a lot of opportunity we have right now working in unity consciousness, co-creating this together, because anything that's held in co-creation is definitely going to be a fifth dimensional experience, and redefining Black Moon Lilith to be this great cosmic mother on Divine Mother's Day today, May 13th, is very important in our consciousness. The other interpretations of Black Moon Lilith are just going to fall away, and we're going to do that together by redefining her original beauty, which is of great cosmic mother. Okay, sweet loves, have a beautiful week with this material. Study your chart, enjoy your life, and get really excited about these multi-dimensional templates in astrology.